Hi Greedy 3D, as you may remember in one of my last videos we made this Wonder Woman zombie by the wonderful Supershark. Well, they've approached me again to make another one of their zombie offerings, but this time it's Clarkus of Kent, Mr. Superman himself, and I am going today be printing him and I am going to be painting him, and I'm going to be adding all the little green bits that you can see to Mr. Kent, the old Superman here. Everything was printed on the GK2 from Uniformation using some wonderful Jam J standard plus resin. Marvellous printer, marvellous resins. And I've done some other bits this time on my Hey Gears Ultracraft Reflex using some of their very own translucent and very expensive resin. And I've also done a little bit on the Creality K1 using some, again, Jam J high speed PLA. Now, something that drives fear into the hearts of 3D printers is capes, and Soups has a cape in 3 parts, but rest assured I will show you a good way, a nice easy clean way how to make capes. Now this cape comes with little holes and little divots so you can glue together. Now this one here is not that cape because yes, Tony forgot to set the video recording, so I'm going to show you how I did a previous cape on an old Thor model. Well, there you can see how I am doing it. I am taking some of the resin that I used to make the cape and I'm popping it onto a little flat brush and I am painting it into the gap. There is the gap, there is the brush, there is the resin. Paint it within the gap there, give it a good old coat, not too thick, we want plenty of thin layers, and in each layer dry it with a UV torch, and I'll put a link in the description where you can get one of these torches from. Give it a good old dry and then repeat, dry, repeat, cure, dry, you get the picture until you've covered all the gap up. It's as simple as that. And here you can see me now that I've remembered to press record, using some sandpaper to get rid of any of the excess lines there. And you can also see here with the little sun rays shining on those little vapours why you must wear a mask when you is sanding. Now you can see that all those lines and gaps have gone in that cape, and it was really easy. Do not be afraid of said capes. Once you've done that, you need to get all that dust off, and look at the amount of dust coming off it. Use a brush, a nice dry brush, quite a sturdy bristle brush, and get it all off. And if you find any little bits that you need to resand, then resand away and get your brush and get all the bits of dust off. You do not want that on when you are painting, as it will look awful. So capes are nothing to be afraid of. Now everything's had a layer of Chaos Black from a primer perspective before I move to another rattle can. This is just some Plasticoat red paint, and I'm going to do the boots in this. He's got 2 lovely red boots which are going to get a layer of this, and then I'm going to give the cape a layer. When it had really thoroughly dried, I turned it over and I did the other side, but I wanted to use this spray paint on it as I wanted a nice shiny finish to said cape, and that is what I has got. Next time I'm going to use some ultramarine blue from the Army Painter War Paints Air set, and I'm going to give old Soups a layer all the way across. Now I've glued his top and his bottom together, and I've used a little bit of resin welding on the gap in the centre there, and that would stop the gaps being. You can see a gap there, but I did do some resin welding afterwards, and I've used a little bit of blue across his arms. Now for the skin tones, I'm using some bleached bone. Remember, he is a zombie. He is not pink, he is not red, he's pale, he has no blood, he's dead, etc. So I'm using some of this pallid bone on him to give his skin tones a wonderful coat all over. I've got to say, hats off to the designer of this. It's an amazing model, and also it fits together wonderfully. Now I've used that Hey Gears resin to do these see-through bits, which I'm going to be making into a little bit green using some Tesseract Glow. This is more of a yellowy greeny colour, and I want to give it a first layer of that. So into the airbrush it goes, and all of these see-through bits will be getting a coat of this Tesseract on the edges more than the main body of them, because I'm going to be coming back to the main body and making them a little bit more kryptonite green. I'm not 100% sure of what this stuff is coming out of him, but it looks damned fine, so I'm going with it. A little bit of carmine red here, and I'm going to paint the girder that's sticking out of the base in this red. My favourite red, as I've said many times, from the Army Painter. And I've got that red all over the girder, as you can see. That all printed in one go on my Uniformation. Fabulous. Carisberg Crimson is a Citadel colour. It's a shade, and I'm using this now to add some darkened areas into the crevasses of his cape, or crevices, and you know what I'm talking about there. Wonderful, wonderful artist. You're going to add some of that in, and I'm going to take some yellow paint here, some Vallejo medium yellow, and I'm going to paint the S on his cape. I'm going to do his belt, and I'm also going to do the S at the front of him, because painting red over yellow is not too bad, but painting yellow over red is a nightmare. Using some of that yellow on his belt, and you can see that I've masked everything off there before I painted all that wonderful yellow upon it. Give it a few good layers, dry with a hairdryer in between. We don't want it to look patchy. Get off said masking tape. I really do enjoy this bit, and you're going to need to do a little bit of touching up where there's a tad of an overspill, but nothing too drastic. And that's the next step, which is Gore green. Again, one of the Army Painter paints. This is the green I was on about, that I'm going to make it look Kryptonian-y, just another added flavour, if you will, to that little bit of gooey stuff that's coming out of old Superman. Now, for the base itself, I'm just using some basic primer colour on a dry brush, and I'm giving it a blast right the way across with that. I love dry brushing, as I say often. It makes some wonderful effects on bases. And I'm going to use some stone Golem, this time on a bit of a smaller dry brush, and I'm just going to go around the edges rather than the whole thing, just to add another tone of shade into old basey here. I want to make it look a little bit like rock, like it's made of tarmac or something like that. Plate mail now, that's what I'm using for the plate in the centre there, the old Metropolis sewer entrance. That's lovely, isn't it? Getting some silver on it anyway before I take some panel line accent colour, and I'm just going to exannuate a few areas of it to make it stand out a little bit more. Now, it looks like it should be a little bit old and a little bit battered, so we will definitely be using some dirty down rust on it. This is something I discovered recently, and I wish I discovered it sooner. It is awesome, awesome stuff. Just literally splodge it on. There's no finesse to it. Splodge it on and leave it, and it does the job. It'll just turn into a wonderful, wonderful rust colour. If you want to get hold of some of this, I think I picked it up from eBay, but I'm sure you can get it from Amazon. I'll have a little look, and if I can find it, I will leave a link in the description for you guys. I'm also going to do some silver dry brushing on the girder, and then I'm going to be adding a little bit of rust to the girder when I pop it in the base, again just to add some more effects to it. I think the more you do on these bases, the better for your end result. I do like a detailed base. I think there's a lot to be said about plain old bases, but it depends on the model. For this one here, this base is incredible, and a little bit of rust going on, and that is the base virtually done. I say virtually done, there's a couple of other bits we need to do. Make sure you check the description below, and I'll see if I can put some links into some of this stuff that I'm using, so you haven't got to go digging and hunting for it. A little bit will kick back as I'll be Amazon affiliate links, but it all helps me carry on and do this for you. I need to buy maybe some more necrotic flesh to make more Supermen or Wonder Women, and all I'm doing with this is taking an old knackered raggedy brush, and I'm getting some of that necrotic flesh on, and I'm just mixed it with water, and I'm just going to paint it across. I just want to add a layer of colour to his face that isn't the usual pinks and yellows and blues that you see in the normal human being. And I'm taking some leather brown on a tiny toothpick, and I'm going to make him look like he's got the lurgy, as I did with Wonder Woman. Exactly the same skin techniques. We're going to just dot them on different sizes, different places, and I'll use a brush to smooth some of them out. I'm doing exactly the same with the hands. Now, you may notice on the hand here, this was left, honest to God, this was left with the support blips still on it, because they look like little warts. On a zombie hand, I couldn't resist leaving them on. I thought they looked incredible. Sometimes these pits from the supports can help you. Most times, of course, they can't, and you've got to sand them off. But I love them on this model. And this was using the Haygears printer, and their support settings are a little bit different. It leaves those tiny little bobbly bits. Just love them. Absolutely love them on this model. I'll put a few little brown speckles around them again, just to make the hand look a little bit necrotic, before moving to some blood red. And I've sped this whole process up, but all I've done here is I painted the red in the holes in his face, where there's holes in his face. I've painted a little bit of colour on his lips, not too much colour because he's dead. I've painted his teeth white, and then I've gone over them with a skeleton bone speed paint to darken them all up. And I've painted the two things coming out of his eyes white. And then I'm going to take some of the gorse green and I'm going to paint the things coming out of his eyeballs nice and gorse green. Wonderful, nicely done. And this is what his head looks like when he's all done, with the hair painted black and some silver highlights on it. The skin tones are on, his eyes are done, his lips are done, his teeth's done, the blood's done. All I've got to do now is add a little bit of wet gooiness by putting some Vallejo gloss on there, and he will be finished. Pure red is what I'm going to use to make the Hess, the symbol for hope. I didn't have much hope though if he's a zombie, on his top, and I've just, you can see why I painted it yellow first. The red is going wonderfully over that. And I'm just going to take the necrotic green, and there's lots of areas on his uniform whereby it's ripped and his skin will be showing through, before I move to this blood from the blood god to make him really, really gory. His arm has been ripped off, and I want to make sure you can see lots of blood and gore and snot there, which I'll also be adding a little bit of Vallejo clear on it too. And there's lots of other areas across his body that need some blood and gore, the other part of his arm for example, but all the rips in his top as well are going to need some of that. So I'm just taking a little bit of time here to go over absolutely everything to make sure that he looks bloody and gory. I hope you've enjoyed the making of this today, guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Please like, comment and share. Let me know what you think of old Superman. If you want to join our Patreon, there is going to be a link in the description where you can join it. You can join it for free, or you can join it for as little as £1 just to contribute to the upkeep of the channel. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this today. Make sure you check out Supershark, and I'll put a link in the description where you can get it from. Well, let's have a little sit back, step back and enjoy old Superman the zombie.